Our next space rocks are comets. A comet is a chunk of frozen gases, rock, ice, and dust. Comets have long orbits around the sun. As comets pass close to the sun, part of their frozen surface begins to break away and turn into gases and dust. These particles reflect the sun's light and become visible as long tails. A comet's tail always points away from the sun. So if the comet's tail points away from the sun, you can find where the sun would be and where the tail would be in the drawing right there. Where is the sun? Comets are cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rock, and dust that orbit the sun. When frozen, they are the size of a small town. When a comet's orbit brings it close to the sun, it heats up and spews dust and gases into a giant glowing head, larger than most planets. The dust and gases form a tail that stretches away from the sun for millions of miles. There are billions of comets orbiting our sun in the Kuiper Belt and even more distant Oort cloud. This image of a comet was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. Hubble is the first major optical telescope to be placed in space. Above the distortion of the atmosphere, so it's far away from our rain and clouds and light pollution, it can see a beautiful view of the universe. Scientists have used Hubble to observe the most distant stars and galaxies, as well as the planets in our solar system. So many of these images that we're seeing, like the ones of these comets, were taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. We even have a famous comet. Halleys Comet is the most famous comet because it's a comet that is predictable. It returns to Earth's vicinity about every 75 years, and it makes it possible for a human to see it twice in his or her lifetime. The last time it was here was in 1986, and so it's projected to return in 2061. How old will you be when Halleys Comet comes back? Me again, we're going to look at our two books. So this is our space book that we're going to start with when we look at comets. So we're looking at the same page as before, but it's got different, it's got all the space rocks on here. So we're going to look and see what it says about comets. And I like what it says here. It says blazing a trail. And it says a comet is an icy object that gravity or a collision pushes close to the sun. At its heart is a chunk of ice the size of a mountain. This icy mountain erupts with activity, giving off a cloud of dust and gas. Sunlight and solar particles blow this away in flowing tails that always point away from the sun. Okay, we know that. So it's telling us the different parts of a comet. So you've got a dust tail. So it says solar radiation forces dust particles from the nucleus in a curving dust tail. This shines yellow from reflected sunlight. So we got that reflection of that sunlight in the tail. And then it says the coma. It says streaming gas and dust shoot from the coma, often millions of miles across. So we've got just different parts of a comet. And comets. It says here jets. Plumes of water, vapor, and dust erupt from surface cracks. So we've got lots of different parts here. And it says a gas tail. It's blown away by the solar wind gas tail. Gas blown away by the solar wind forms a straight bluish gas tail, the ion tail. Its color comes from the glow of carbon monoxide gas. And then there's a little image here. So it says, a sign in the sky. In times past, people feared comets as omens of disasters. So they thought they were like, things that were saying bad things were happening, a warning. When Halleys Comet appeared in 1066, people saw it as a sign of King Harold of England's defeat by William the Conqueror. So they thought the comet had something to do with their leader getting beat, by another leader, someone else to become their leader. All right, so we also have, we've got something called Deep Impact. It says, in July 2005, the spacecraft Deep Impact reached a comet. It's the comet Tempel 1. It shot a probe the size of a washing machine called an impactor at the nucleus. I can't say that. That's like at the center right here. The nucleus. The impact blew out a crater in a plume of water and dust molecules that had been deep inside the comet for billions of years. Deep Impact then studied the matter thrown out by the blast. So Deep Impact releases the impactor at the comet's nucleus, and then it says it hits at 23,000 miles per hour. So just interesting little added things about comets, and just to see some images. Wow. Let's go ahead and look at our other book too. We're going to check out the DK Eyewitness book again, and we're going to look at comets. So this one says Icy Wanderers. In the outer reaches of the solar system, there are great clouds of icy debris, relics of the time the solar system was born. From time to time, some of these chunks get disturbed and travel in toward the sun. Averaging only about 6 miles, 10 kilometers across, they remain invisible until they are heated up by the sun and throw off shiny clouds of gas and dust. Then they can become the most spectacular of all heavenly bodies, comets. At their brightest, comets can rival the brightest planets and can develop tails that stretch for millions of miles, okay? So the tail that we can see the color can be millions of miles. Not always, but it can be. That's really far. Comets seem to appear suddenly out of nowhere. In the past, people believed they were signs of misfortune and brought famine, that means hunger, disease, death, and destruction. So that's kind of like what the other book said. But I like the images here. So, when you see what a comet looks like versus an asteroid, they're very different. The asteroid's like this big rock, right? And the comet is like it's an icy, fiery ball. Like it just, okay, so we got that ice. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we'll revisit these when we look at our last type of space rocks. So let's review what comets are. Comets are a mixture of ices like water, methane, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, ammonia, and dust, and have highly elliptical orbits. So that means their orbits are very oval shaped, whereas the asteroids were very circular. So they have different orbits, and I can see they're made of different things.